It's time for another Verbling class. It's 9 a.m. Pacific time, and this hour I'm going to be doing an English reading class. So I have an article that I chose from Time magazine. It's from a couple of years ago, but I found it very interesting, especially because it relates to language learning. So not only does it have some really rich vocabulary in this reading, and it's an interesting topic, I think it will be relevant to people who are learning English. And so that's why I chose it, because I think it will lead to a good discussion today that we can have about strategies and techniques for learning English and improving our fluency. I'm also interested in this because I also am interested in learning languages. I am learning French, and I speak some German and some Spanish already, and I'm probably going to be learning Portuguese soon as well. So I always like to find interesting articles that talk about how we can help ourselves to improve our language learning skills. So if you want to join this class, in just a minute you should see the Join Class button. It's at the top of your Verbling chat window. So as you can see, if you're looking at the Verbling page right now, there's a chat box going on over in the right hand side, and people are talking. Alejandro and Tara are there, and Felipe and Ayat, and there's several other people will probably be joining us any minute now. If you have been checking out Verbling, you might notice that we offer classes in English and now in Spanish, and soon we will be offering classes in other languages as well. So that's all very exciting. Lots and lots of people are learning about Verbling. So if you have friends, neighbors, colleagues, people in your family that are learning a language, you might want to direct them here to verbling.com so they can start practicing and start taking some classes. So hi everybody, welcome. Come on in to the class. When you come in to the class, it's good to do two things. One is to close the Verbling window. So you were looking at the Verbling window, you clicked Join Class button, and then it opened a new Google Plus Hangouts window. You can just close the Verbling window. So you're just having the Google Hangout window open. That way we won't hear any of the recording, because as you may know already, all of the classes are recorded, and so they are available anytime later under the Recorded Classes tab or button, okay? And so yeah, hi there everybody. How are you doing? Alejandro, how are you? Oh yeah, that was the second thing. The second thing that I wanted to tell you was to check your microphone. The way you do that is you can just go up here. The easiest place to look is the above the Verbling chat box, where I'm moving my cursor around there. There's a microphone icon, and this microphone icon, if it's red, that means that your microphone is muted. So in order to speak and for me to be able to hear you, your microphone has to be on. Okay, Alejandro, is your microphone on? And I have to go through and say hi to everybody and make sure that your microphone works, because in the reading class we're going to be reading out loud, and so that means your microphone definitely has to be working so that I can hear you. Okay.
Hello, yeah.
Okay,
I can hear you.
I can hear you, but I cannot hear Alejandro, so I'm trying to help Alejandro get his microphone working. It doesn't work, Alejandro? Is it muted or is it not working? Maybe plug it in and plug it unplug it. Okay, let's see. We have a little bit of movement here. Let's start over here with Juan. Hi Juan, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, teacher. Thanks.
Okay.
Everything is peaches and cream.
Sweet. Hey, you're making me hungry.
Spanish? How's your Spanish going, teacher? I saw you on the Spanish class and the teacher Samantha as well talking over the chat in Spanish. Great
Oh
job.
yeah. Oh, gracias. Muy bien. Okay. Yeah, I don't have enough time, but if I had more time, I would be taking more Spanish classes. But they're fun to listen, and sometimes if I'm preparing for a class, I check in and I like to participate at least in the chat. But I hope to get inside the class more often so I can practice my Spanish.
Yes,
Okay.
great job, teacher.
Thank you. Hazel, how are you?
Hello, I'm
Hi.
fine. How are you?
Good. And Hazel, where are you from?
From Romania.
Oh, okay, Romania. Nice, wonderful. Okay, sounds like you have a good connection.
Yes.
Good. Forrester, how are you? Check
Yeah,
your.
I'm fine. Yeah,
Okay, great, cool. And Forrester, where are you?
yeah, I'm in Japan.
Oh, okay, great. And Imad, how are you doing
Hi,
today?
Lisa. I'm fine, thank you. Well, thank you very much.
Good. And Dewey, are you there?
Yes.
Dewey, did I pronounce your name right? Dewey?
Yui.
Yui?
Yes.
Okay. So the D is pronounced kind of like we pronounce the Y. Yui.
Yes.
Okay, I'll try to remember that. And Camilo, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing good. Thank you. And you?
Good. I forgot to ask everybody. So Camilo, tell us where you are from.
I'm from Nicaragua.
Nicaragua. Okay.
That's
And
right.
Yui, where are you from?
I'm from Vietnam.
Vietnam. That's what I thought. And Juan, tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from the sunny Mexicali, Baja California, Mexico.
Baja California. All right. Nice and sunny there. Ayat, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. How about you?
I'm pretty good.
I'm from Algeria.
Algeria. Okay, wonderful.
Thanks.
And Asifraja or Asifraja?
Yeah, I
Hi.
am Asif Raja. I am from Pakistan.
Pakistan. Okay, wonderful. And Alejandro, did your microphone work?
Yes, it's working now.
Yay! Yay! It's working. Great. Wonderful. Okay.
I'm
Yes.
from Argentina.
Argentina. Okay. Welcome. Wow, we have a good mix of people from all different countries. That's wonderful. So in this class, we are going to be doing some reading. And this is the article that I chose for today. So just so you know, if you're new to my classes, I usually do classes that are more for intermediate to advanced students and for students who want to, maybe you're already pretty good in English, but you want to just keep improving. So I choose articles that are real, authentic, articles that any pretty much educated person would read if they're a person who even is a native speaker. So I don't really choose simple articles and stories too often. I like articles that are interesting to me as well. And my belief is that when you are learning a language, it should be interesting and fun. And really, you're just one of your reasons, perhaps, for learning the language is to use it, to become fluent, to be able to use English in your everyday life. You may need it for school, you may need it for a job, but you may also just like the fact that you can find other information that you are interested in English, and so you want to read in English. And so that's what I do in the reading classes is I just pick articles that are interesting to me and that I think will be interesting to the students. And you can always come into the classes if they are interesting to you. Also, I want to tell everybody that the Google Hangouts, we can only have 9 students at a time, but especially for the reading classes, you can often follow along. So if you are just watching the class, that is perfectly okay. You can watch the class and you can read along with us. And you can also post and write things in the Verbling chat. I can't always answer because I get busy teaching and reading and helping people, but other people might answer questions if you have questions, and if I can keep an eye on it, I will. I can put the link again in the Verbling chat, and I'll put it also in the Google chat. So if anybody's watching, you can go to that link. It's a Google Doc. This particular article actually is from the year 2011, so a couple of years ago, and it appeared in Time magazine. Time magazine is a pretty popular magazine here in the United States, and I believe you can get it in other countries as well, but also, of course, online these days. So I got this article online, and the link to the article is at the bottom here. So if you're interested in going directly to that page and maybe finding some other links to other articles that this particular author writes, you can do that. Okay? So what we're doing here is we're going to be reading, and the way I do this is I read one paragraph at a time. So when I'm reading, I usually highlight the part that I'm reading so you can follow along, and then what I want you to do is listen. So this is called the power of smart listening. So this is one of the things that I agree with the author. I think it's really important when you are learning another language to listen. But not just listen, but to pay attention and to focus. And so when we're doing the reading classes, it's actually a couple of different things are happening. One is you're going to be listening to me, just like you are right now. But when I'm reading, you can follow along and listen to how I pronounce the words and how I phrase things, my rhythm, my tone, things like that. And then after I finish reading one paragraph, I will call on a student to read the same paragraph that I just read. Okay, so we're going to be reading each paragraph twice. And then we will be going through the whole article that way. And then we will go back and we will discuss the article. We will discuss the ideas and the vocabulary perhaps. And if you have any questions, you can just interrupt me at any time and ask me a question. And also, if you have ideas that come to you while you're reading this or personal experiences, those are always great things to share with the class and talk about. And so in the reading class, it's you get a lot of things. You get listening, you get reading, and of course speaking. Okay, so it's I like these classes. All right, so that's my little introduction to the class, and now we will get started. So this is from an article that she writes for a column, which she calls Brilliant, The Science of Smart. She's an author. Her name is Annie Murphy Paul, and she's written a couple of books on learning and intelligence and things like that. And so this is the one on foreign language learning. The power of smart listening. When we're learning a foreign language, making sense of what we hear is the first step toward fluency. It sounds obvious, but until recently, we didn't know much about how listening works. New research demonstrates that effective listening involves more than simply hearing the words that float past our ears. Okay, Alejandro, will you read that one, please?
The one paragraph?
Yes, that one paragraph right there.
When we are learning a foreign language, making sense of what we hear is the first step toward fluency. It sounds obvious, but until recently, we didn't know much about how listening works. New research demonstrates that effective listening involves more than simply hearing the words that float past our ears.
Yes. Okay, wonderful. Next is, rather, it's an active process of interpreting information and making meaning. This kind of engaged listening is a skill that's as critical for learning a range of subjects at school and work as it is for learning to understand a foreign tongue. Okay, Asif Raja?
Yeah,
Teacher,
hello.
what rather means, teacher?
Okay, rather, so when you use the word rather, it's like you're comparing two different things. So you say, I don't want to go dancing tonight. I would rather go out to a restaurant. Does that make sense? So it's when you're comparing two different things. So in the first paragraph, she's saying it's not just about just listening to any old thing, but rather.
Okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm trying to teach it to you in context so you could actually use it rather than just giving you a definition about it. So the way we use it is you could ask a question. Would you rather go skiing this weekend? Or would you rather go to the soccer game? So it's when you're,
Okay.
yeah, it's one or the other kind of thing. And then you could answer, I'd rather, you could say, actually, actually, I'd rather go to the beach. So maybe you didn't want
It's
to do
like
any of those things.
it's like I prefer, right?
Uh-huh.
I
Mm-hmm.
prefer to do something, right?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Thanks, teacher.
That's the meaning of it. I'd rather. And so we use it that way. Would you rather eat spaghetti tonight or steak? Oh, I prefer steak, you could say. Mm-hmm. Right. Good. Okay, Asif Raja, go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Rather, it's an active process of interpreting information and making meaning. I mean, this kind of engaged listening is a skill that's critical for learning a range of subjects at school and work, as it is for learning to understand a foreign tongue.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Okay, in the chat, Hakim is asking me to explain the last sentence of the first paragraph. I can do that. I'm also going to go over it after we finish reading it too. But this one, he's probably wondering what this means. New research demonstrates, so demonstrates means shows, the research shows, that effective listening, so that means listening that really helps you. It's not just a waste of time, for example. Involves more than, so not just hearing words that float past our ears. So that's kind of an expression there. If you think of things floating by, they're like floating in the air. I'll show you with my hands here. So if something is just floating, it's just like floating by your ears. So if you just turn on the radio and you're just listening to somebody jabber away in English, they're saying, oh, in the stock market today, the Dow Jones hit blah, blah, blah. So you're just listening to it, but you're not really paying attention. It's just floating into your ears, and then it's probably going out the other side. Yeah. So you're not really focused. So that type of listening, maybe every once in a while you'll go, oh, I know what that means, But when you're listening that way to a foreign language, it's not as effective as being focused. And that's what this article is talking about, different types of listening. So the floating past your ears, that is what it means. It kind of goes in one ear and out the other ears, out the other ear. Okay, so here we go, third paragraph. Studies of skilled language learners have identified specific listening strategies that lead to superior comprehension. What's more, research has shown that learners who deliberately adopt these strategies become better listeners. Okay, Hazel. All right, sorry, we're going the other way. Ayat?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Can you read that one, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Studies of skilled language learners have identified specific listening strategies that lead to superior comprehension. What's more, research has shown that learners who deliberately adopt these strategies become better listeners.
Okay. So I'm not going to go through it. We're just going to read it, but there's a lot of vocabulary in there that I might need to help you out with. So let's read it once through first. Last year, for example, University of Ottawa researcher Larry Vandergrift published his study of 106 undergraduates who were learning French as a second language. Half of the students were taught in a conventional fashion, listening to and practicing texts spoken aloud. The other half possessing the same initial skill level and taught by the same teacher were given explicit instruction on how to listen. Okay. Camilo?
Yes.
Can you read that paragraph there, starting with last year?
Okay. Last year, for example, University of Ottawa researcher Larry Vandergrift published his study of 106 undergraduates who were learning French as a second language. Half of the students were taught in a conventional fashion, listening to and practicing texts spoken aloud. The other half, possessing the same initial skill level and taught by the same teacher, were given explicit instruction on how to listen.
Mm-hmm. So they were given explicit. That means very detailed instructions on how to listen. They weren't just told, here, listen to this material whenever you feel like it. They were given explicit, so very detailed instruction. Yes?
What does it mean, conventional fashion?
Okay. Good. So the first half of the students were taught in a conventional fashion. So that means in a traditional way. So, yeah, conventional means traditional or the normal or the usual, and fashion means the way, in a traditional way. Yeah. So what they're talking about is they were taught in the way that they had been teaching before. So it was the normal way that teachers were teaching, the conventional. So the opposite of conventional would be alternative. So the conventional way of doing things is the way you have always done it. But an alternative way might be a new way, a new innovation perhaps, or an innovative way would be something new. So they're trying something new. Okay. In the journal Language Learning, Vandergrift reported the results. The second group, quote, significantly outperformed, end quote, the first one on a test of comprehension. The improvement was especially pronounced among the less fluent French speakers in the group. So, what are these listening strategies? Okay. Yui.
Yes. In the journal Language Learning, Van der Griep reported the results. The second group significantly outperformed the first one on the test of comprehension. The improvement were especially pronounced among the less fluent French speakers in
the group. Sorry.
In the group. Oh.
I just made it bigger because I realized for people watching, it would be easier if it was a little bigger. Sorry. Okay, so what are these listening strategies? Let's find out. Skilled learners go into a listening session with a sense of what they want to get out of it. They set a goal for their listening, and they generate predictions about what the speaker will say. Before the talking begins, they mentally review what they already know about the subject and form an intention to listen out for what's important or relevant. Okay, Ahmad?
Skilled learners go into a listening session with a sense of what they want to get out of it. They set a goal for their listening and they generate predictions about what the speaker will say. Before the talking begins, they mentally review what they already know about the subject and form an intention to listen out what's important or relevant.
Good. So that's one of the key things right there. So when, for example, we could even use this when we're coming into this reading class because it's also a listening class. Or for example, last night I did do a listening class where I read several short stories. And what I like to do ahead of time is say a little bit about what the story is going to be about. So a person who is a good listener, or what they're calling a skilled learner, what they do is they think in their mind, probably in their own language, what they already know about the topic, what they have already been knowing about what they're going to be reading. So then they're always comparing what they're hearing with what they already know about that topic. So for example, if I was going to tell you, okay, we're going to read a story about soccer, playing soccer. Well, a lot of people know about soccer already. So you would already have an idea, and then you would say, okay, my goal for this listening is I'm going to understand like the main idea. So it's really having some intention about why you're listening to this and what you want to get out of it. So that's what the first strategy is. Okay? And then here we go. There's some more. Once they begin listening, these learners maintain their focus. If their attention wanders, they bring it back to the words being spoken. They don't allow themselves to be thrown off by confusing or unfamiliar details. Instead, they take note of what they don't understand and make inferences about what those things might mean based on other clues available to them. Their previous knowledge of the subject, the context of the talk, the identity of the speaker, and so on. Okay, so Forrester, will you read that, please?
Yes. Once they begin listening, these learners maintain their focus. If their attention wanders, they bring it back to the word being spoken. They don't allow themselves to be thrown off by confusing or unfamiliar details. Instead, they take note of what they don't understand and make inference about what those things might mean based on their clues available to them.
Mm-hmm.
Their previous knowledge of the subject, the content of the talk, the identity of the speaker, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here she's listing for us all the things that they do. So they maintain their focus. That means they don't get distracted, or if they get distracted, they, which means right here it says if their attention wanders, so that means it goes somewhere else, like walking away. They bring it back to the word, so they come back, and they don't allow themselves to be thrown off. So that means if you're thrown off, that means you got confused and you didn't know what the words meant and you got stuck there. So don't get stuck on words that you don't know. Just keep listening and try to make sense of what you're hearing based on some other clues. So the other things that might help you understand what you're listening to would be things that you already know about the topic, so your previous knowledge, the context, why are we talking about it, who's talking, who's the speaker. All of those clues will help you make sense of what is going on. So even in this class right now, you probably do not understand every single word that I'm saying or every single word that we are reading. But you have a context. We're talking about learning strategies. We're talking about listening. And so you can fill in a lot of the information in your mind because you just understand what the basic idea is. Okay, so here we go. They're listening for gist and not getting caught up in fine-grained analysis. All the while, skilled learners are evaluating what they're hearing and their own understanding of it. They're checking their inferences to see if they're correct and identifying the questions they still have so they can pursue the answers later. Okay? Hey, Eron! Hi there. Welcome. Check your microphone to see if it's muted.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Welcome.
Okay. I'm okay, and you?
Good, good. Are you following along?
Yes.
Okay.
At first, yes.
Okay, do you want to read that?
They are listening for guests and not getting caught up in fine-grained analysis. All the while, skilled learners are evaluating what they are hearing and their own understanding of it. They are checking their inference to see if they are correct and identifying the questions they still have so they can pursue the answers later.
Yes. Okay. So they're listening for the gist. So people who have been in my classes before, yeah, you've probably heard that before, the gist. It means just like the main idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you say, "Oh yeah, I get the gist of it," I get the gist of it means you understand the basic ideas, rather than getting caught up, so you don't get stuck on what she's calling fine-grained analysis. So that means you're trying to understand every single little thing, every word, everything. You just listen for the main idea. That's what this lady is saying that skilled learners do. Okay?
Okay.
All right, great. Thanks for coming in the class.
Thank you.
Such strategies are all about metacognition, or thinking about thinking. So that's what meta means big picture, and cognition means thinking. So you're thinking about thinking. So such strategies are all about metacognition, or thinking about thinking, and they yield a variety of benefits. Research indicates that learners who engage in metacognition are better at processing and storing new information, better at finding the best ways to practice, and better at reinforcing what they have learned. Okay, now Juan, it's your turn.
Okay, teacher.
All right.
It says, such strategies are all about metacognition, or thinking about thinking, and they yield a variety of benefits. Research indicates that learners who engage in metacognitions are better at processing and storing new information, better at finding the best ways to practice, and better at reinforcing what they have learned.
Good. In a 2006 study by researchers from Singapore, Chinese speakers who were learning English as a second language reported increased motivation and confidence after they were taught metacognitive strategies. Okay, Hazel, you're back with us. You want to read that?
Yes.
Okay, great.
In a 2006 study by researchers from Singapore, Chinese speakers who were learning English as a second language reported increased motivation and confidence after they were taught metacognitive strategies.
Okay, thank you. Though listening is often treated as a social nicety, a way to make others feel appreciated, it's also one of the most powerful tools we have to gain information and insight. That's true whether the language we're listening to is the jargon of science and technology, the parlance of the executive suite, or the fast-flowing patois of French. Comprenez-vous? Okay, that means do you understand? All right, let's see. Did we have somebody just come in? No. No. Okay, Alejandro, you want to read that last one? Last paragraph there? Though listening, right there. I don't hear you, Alejandro. Is your microphone muted, perhaps? Okay, Alejandro. Okay, Asifraja, you want to read?
Hello, what you said? Last paragraph.
Yes, please.
Thought listening is often treated as a social nicety, a way to make others feel appreciated. It's also one of the most powerful tools we have to gain information and insight. That's true, whether the language we are listening It is the jargon of science and technology. The parlance of the executive suite are the fast flowing patois of French. Comprends vos. It's not
That's French.
English.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not
French.
English. That's French.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's go back over and talk about some of this article in more detail. We'll go over a few vocabulary words. But let's just take it paragraph by paragraph. But before we do that, who can tell me what the gist of the story was, or the gist of the article? Anybody want to tell me?
Yeah.
Ahmad?
I think it's just if you make more work before the listening session, if we just prepare ourselves, it happens sometimes we know the topic or what it's going to be about.
Yes.
Then we should prepare ourselves to think about what's going on. Its name in English, I think, metacognition. Is that correct?
Yeah, metacognition. Yes.
Metacognition, yeah. Metacognition. So
Yes.
I prepare myself and I predict what will be going about, how it will be. And when I am in the class, I'll try to compare what I was thinking about and what I'm with right now. I may add some notes on my paper, and at the finish of the class, I may ask some question, and this way I will make good comprehension for the ideas. And yeah, but I actually I don't think it's all about listening, because they mentioned many strategies, or they were in the topic talking about many strategies, and this is only one strategy. So is it a brief talk about the idea? I can see that metacognition is only one strategy, isn't it, Lisa? Or
well, metacognition is it's kind of the umbrella term, we could say. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it contains a lot of things, not only one. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But so they're basically telling us what they're calling smart listening. So that's not just one thing that you do, but it involves a couple of different things, a few things. It's not just one strategy. So to have smart listening, they're saying that we need to teach students to think about their thinking, and that's what they're calling metacognition, thinking about their thinking. So let's review it. Does anybody have any questions before I start reviewing the article so that we understand it? Hi, Mario. You just joined us.
Yes, Elisa. How are you?
Do you need the link to the article?
I must arrive it.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's just go through it a little bit. When we're learning a foreign language, making sense. So does everybody understand that? When we make sense of something, it means we make meaning. We understand it. If you say to somebody, that doesn't make sense to me, that means you don't understand what they're saying. Okay? And then they might say it another way. So when we're trying to make sense of what we hear, they're saying that's the first step toward fluency, being able to understand when a person is speaking in the language that you are learning. In this case, we're talking about English, for example, in this class. So it sounds kind of obvious, but what they're saying is not everybody knows how to listen. And so they're finding out new ways that they're studying the difference between people who seem to have good skills at listening and they actually understand what they listen to, and people who don't. And they're telling us what are the strategies that the good listeners use. And so rather, they make it an active process of interpreting information and making meaning. Yeah. So Ahmad, did you understand what that meant there? Active process.
Yeah,
okay.
Active process.
So in English, we have two ways of talking about when we're learning languages, for example. We have the passive, which means you're just letting things happen. And so a lot of people listen very passively. They just listen. They're not really thinking too much. They're just listening. Okay, there's the teacher, she's talking, or oh, I'm listening to the news. But they're not very focused and not really paying attention too much. It's not very active. So the opposite of passive would be active. You are actually doing something, and the thing that you're doing is thinking. You're thinking about what you're listening to, and you're making meaning of it. That means you're trying to figure out what the heck that person is talking about. So if you listen, for example, yesterday I'm learning French. So I put my iPhone headphones on, and I was going to go for a walk, and I started listening to the French news. And in the beginning, I was like, what the heck are they talking about? And I kept trying to understand some words, and I knew the words, but I didn't really know what they were talking about. And so after a couple of seconds, I kept hearing more, and then I'm like, okay, I heard a couple of key words. They were talking about the Pope. So it was like a news program when they were talking about the new Pope that was going to be chosen. And so then finally, I started activating in my mind what I already knew about the Pope, which is not much. I'm not Catholic, so I don't follow the Pope too much, but I know that the old Pope was stepping down, and that they were going to try to find a new Pope, and that was going to be happening, and people were going to have to vote or something. I didn't know exactly, but I started making meaning by what I already knew. And then putting that together, even though I wasn't able to understand everything that they were saying, every single word in French, I basically could understand the main ideas of what they were saying and what was happening, because this was a live report from the Vatican. They were talking about it back and forth, what's happening at the Vatican, that type of thing. So that's what they're talking about. You make it an active process. Imad, do you think that you do this when you listen? Is that something that you do?
Yeah, but I'm not lucky to do that all the time, because it's only if I have a time and to prepare, and I know the title of what it's going on about. But yeah, but in some cases, if I'm listening to something about my specialty or my majority, electronics or medical, I don't have to prepare myself, because I actually have, let's say, kind of I'm ambition about to know what's going on. If I just joined in the middle of the class, I'll be active, because because it's something that I already have knowledge about, and I can share with. The problem is when I have something that completely weird about, and I won't be able to understand, even if I prepared for the listening, it will be very hard. I tried this many times, but right now I'm looking with MVI for the writer, because somehow I found that some people studied this case and gave a report or researches about this thing, and it's very nice,
Yeah. So I have a technique you could also use. This is a good way to improve your vocabulary too, and that is, let's say, and it works really well because of the internet. So one of these strategies which goes along with this article is, so say, Ahmad, for example, you want to improve your understanding about vocabulary related to something that you don't know very much about. Let's just say cooking, okay? Let's use that for an example. Okay, so what you could do is you could go and just read an article in your own language first, so you have a little bit of background knowledge, and then you can go find a similar article but in English. And then now you pretty much can kind of guess what the article is about, because you know so much about the topic. And that's what you were saying, that when you read things about stuff you already know, then it's much easier, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So for example, if I don't know very much about the game of soccer, let's just say, then maybe I'll go read a little bit in English, an article or two, and I'll learn a little bit about soccer. Maybe I'll learn the names of the positions, what the point of the game is, how the game works, something like that. And then I'll go find an article in French, for example, and then I'll start reading, and it's going to be basically the same type of vocabulary, because they're talking about the same subject. But now I'm going to have some knowledge in my own language about that, so then I'll be able to understand a little bit more, even if I don't understand all the words. But at least I get the gist, right? So that's one way. Okay, so let's see. So they're calling it engaged listening. So that means where you're being engaged, you're really listening. And I can see that in this class, a lot of students are being engaged right now. You're thinking about what I'm saying. You're looking at the words. Maybe some of you are looking up translations on Google Translate or in some other dictionary online or something like that. And that's what they're talking about, is really being engaged, not just sitting there listening, but really not even hearing what I'm saying. Okay, this leads to superior comprehension. So can somebody give me what the word superior means? What would be a good definition?
Superior is very important, or
High.
Yeah, important. Or Hazel, what
Yes,
did you say?
It's high.
Yes, a higher level. Yeah, superior. So it's at a higher level. Mario?
to understand something very well, very deeply.
Yes. So we could say you have low-level comprehension, which might mean you understand a little bit. But if you have superior comprehension, that means you understand pretty much everything or most everything. So Lawrence, you wanted me to say gist. So gist, in English, the G sound sometimes has that soft, we call it a soft G, not a hard G. So it's gist. Kind of like if it was spelled with a J, but it's not. It's spelled with a G. So gist, yeah. Not gist. Gist, it would be with a hard G, so that's how we say it, gist. All right, so they're just saying that research has shown that learners who deliberately, so that's a good word, deliberately. It means when you do something on purpose. Yes, Hazel?
Yes, on purpose, specially.
Exactly, deliberately. So I'm deliberately going, and Ahmad, what you said is true. Sometimes maybe you don't really want to listen this way. Sometimes you just want to turn on the TV and watch. But they're talking about this as compared to other methods of teaching, so that even teachers in schools and things can have better ways to help their students understand more quickly. And so rather than just going on with the same old ways that they've been teaching kids and students, they want to change. They want to get better. And this is one of the things. So when you're taking your time, and maybe you're going to say, okay, today I'm going to spend 30 minutes learning English or studying English, practicing, this would be what you would do. You're going to be very deliberate. You're going to have a purpose. You're going to make a goal. You're going to say, I'm going to listen to this podcast, and I want to be able to understand 50% of it, or I want to be able to understand the main ideas, or something, whatever your goal is. But that's what you go in listening. You don't just turn it on and listen, but without paying attention, right? So listening to and practicing text spoken aloud. So that's what they usually do in a class. It's not very active. The students are just sitting there. Maybe they don't even really know how to listen or what they should be listening for. But then later they're saying they gave explicit instruction on how to listen. So they told the students, this is how I want you to think when you're listening. I want you to think about what you already know. I want you to just listen for the main ideas. I don't want you to get stuck. I don't want you to get caught up on words that you don't understand. Because sometimes that happens when you're reading on something or you're listening, and then you don't understand a word, and then you get so busy in your mind, you're like, oh, what does that mean? Oh, what the heck, And then you don't hear the next 2 sentences, right? Because you got stuck. You were focusing on one word that you didn't really understand. So don't focus on words that you don't understand. Just keep going. Okay, that's what kids do, and that's why kids learn so quickly. They don't care if they don't understand every word. They just keep listening, and then checking to see if they understand. All right. Okay, so let's see. What else? They want their goal. Everybody know what a goal is?
Yeah.
Forrester, do you know what a goal is?
Yeah, purpose.
Yeah.
Purpose. Like that's purpose.
Like your purpose or the thing that you want to get, right? Your goal is the thing you want to get. And what is it? What does it mean to generate predictions? Generate. So we have two words there that you
expect.
Predictions. Generate.
Expect.
Yes. Okay, I understand what you mean. You're saying think about what you might expect from listening, what you might hear. Is that what you mean? You're making a prediction. Yeah. Ayat, do you know the word prediction?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like prediction.
Prediction is like a guess.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So you're going to guess. You're going to make a prediction. So when I was listening to the French people talking about the Pope, I was making some predictions about what they might say. They probably were going to talk about the old Pope and why he was leaving. They were probably going to talk a little bit about the politics behind voting for a new Pope. You know, I kind of just guessed. I made some guesses about what kinds of things they would be saying. Okay? So so that's what you can do. So that's like in this class, when you come to this class and I start talking, I'm giving you some introduction to what we're going to be talking about. So it's not cold turkey. Has anybody heard what that means?
Yes.
If you go into something cold turkey.
Yes, when you give up smoking, for example, directly without any help, you go cold turkey.
Right. Right. So if you go cold turkey, like she said, is that smoking, maybe you're a smoker and all of a sudden you say, okay, I'm not going to smoke anymore, and you just stop. That's going cold turkey. You didn't just slowly stop, you stopped right then. So it's better to go into a listening situation knowing a little bit about what you're going to listen to, not just cold turkey, which happens sometimes. So if you want to turn on the news, maybe you came into the middle of the newscast, you're kind of there cold turkey. It might take you a few minutes to figure out what they're talking about. Okay, so it's better if you can listen to something that you already know a little bit about, and you have some ideas about what it's going to be about. All right, so that's what she's saying. You mentally review, so you review in your mind what you already know about the topic, and what are you listening out for? So you want to try to figure out what is the important information, what's the relevant information. So in this article, she's saying a lot of words, and in communication, we use a lot of words just to kind of keep the rhythm going and keep the story flowing. But really, a lot of times we can just say, well, really, she just said one thing or two things, right? And Ahmad kind of helped us with that. He made a summary. Really, she's talking about thinking about what you're listening to, okay? So you maintain your focus. Your attention wanders. Do people have problems with that? Does your attention wander when you're listening to English? Mario, for example?
No, I can. At this point, that's depend of the subject, of course.
Yeah.
If for example, it's a bit boring, yes, you can wonder something, but this is not the case right now.
Yes. Okay. Yes, and that's what Laurence in the chat, she mentioned also, and that's really true. And that's why another strategy is, when you're learning English, you don't have to learn everything. Just like in your own language, you don't know about cell biology or nuclear physics, or you might, but you don't necessarily. Just because you speak Spanish or French doesn't mean you know all those words. So in English, it's the same thing. You don't have to learn all the English words to explain how plants develop or how planets were made, something like that, if it's not interesting to you, right? You want to learn things that are interesting to you. And so, Yui, are you there, Yui? Yes, I see your mic's on. Yui, what kinds of things are interesting to you in English? Okay, Forrester, how about you? What kinds of things do you like to study in English?
I have interest in basketball, so I want to study basketball in English.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's great. you can find a lot of stuff about basketball in English.
Yeah, I think
every
so.
day.
Yeah. I watch the NBA every day, so yeah. And I read the article about NBA, so yeah, that
that's
helps
great.
me.
Yeah. So anything that's fun or interesting to you and that you already probably know something about in your own language, that's going to be a lot more fun and interesting and will help you learn much quicker. And even in English, a lot of people don't know anything about basketball. So you might know more in English than they do. So that's just everybody has their own interest. Hazel, what types of things do you like to learn about in English?
About travel, because I want to learn English for travel purpose. I like to travel a lot. I've already seen some cities from Europe, from Italy and France especially, and from Austria. And now I'm going to go to London. This is my goal. And I want to be able to understand British English and American English, English in general.
English in general, great, awesome.
Yes, and to be able to speak fluently, perhaps. I
Wonderful.
hope at least.
Yeah, well, you're sounding very good.
Thank you.
So that's great. Yeah, a lot of people, if you're interested in traveling, then maybe you want to listen to things that are about the cities that you're going to visit, that if you like going to buildings or museums, things like that. Yeah. Great. Eron.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi. What types of things do you like to listen to in English and learn about?
Okay, for me it's now interesting for technology. Learning something for technology is more interesting for me, and something about meteorology, weather informations for my profession. Yes. And also nowadays most interesting for me in learning English, and with the articles that is better for me. Yes, as you can see, as everybody can know, if we learn or listen something boring for us, our listening is very, very low, very, very boring, annoy us.
Yes, yeah, it's annoying.
It's annoying for us.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
Okay, Juan.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Juan, how about you? What types of things do you like to listen to in English?
Very interesting things, teacher, like 50 Cent songs, name songs. No, just kidding. Something like sports, history, among other things.
Great. And Mario, how about you? What types of things are interesting to you?
I think it's the same things as in French.
Sure.
The same topic. All topic that I'm interested about. It's the same in English.
Yeah.
In my work, I have to practice English by email. Also, I have to talk to someone in a meeting, something like this. So
yes,
the sub topics, it's similar for the both language.
Great. And Asifraja, what kinds of things are interesting to you to listen to or read in English? Are you there?
Yeah, hello?
Hi.
Yeah, what you asked?
Yes, what types of things are interesting to you to listen to or read about in English?
Yeah, what was the question if you repeat it again? I'm sorry for that. I'm not hearing you properly.
Okay, can you hear me now?
No, it's okay now. Yeah, please ask.
What kinds of things are interesting to you in English? What topics? What subjects?
Grammar, especially the and plus the speaking skills, and in English, I mean sometimes literature too, poetry too.
Do you like to read about technology or sports or traveling?
Not too much. I mean listen. I mean read the news, general news. I mean politics and
politics. Okay.
Yeah. sometimes.
Yeah, sure. And Yui, did you get your microphone working?
Yes.
Okay, so what is interesting to you? What topics?
I'm interested about science and technology and general news.
Yeah.
That help me about give me about more knowledge and some idea.
Yeah. And Imad, you said things that are in your profession mostly?
Actually, I like to read about anything, but not about agriculture because I hate this topic.
Okay, great. Okay, you guys, so we have finished our hour. It's already been an hour. It went by pretty fast. I'm sure we could continue on with this conversation. The article came up with some good ideas, but the main thing I want you to leave this class with is just when you're listening, just take a minute before you start to listen to something in English, if you're going to take some time to practice and study, and think about what you're going to be listening to, and think about what you already know about that topic. And then as you're listening, just keep making meaning to yourself. Think about what the person's saying and use a lot of your own information about what you know about the topic already, and do not get caught up on vocabulary or grammar. Don't worry about that kind of stuff. Just get the gist. And then every time, if you want to listen to the same news report or podcast or song, you're just going to understand more and more. You might take notes. You might say, oh, I got to look that word up or something, but don't let it get you stuck so that you quit listening. You want to keep being engaged and listening. See how that works for you. Okay? All right, you guys. That's all for today for this class. Anybody have any questions or comments before we close out the class? Anything? Mario?
When you
It's okay for me.
Okay, great.
your first your next class, it's you finished today?
Yeah, I'm finished for today. I think I have some classes tomorrow and on the weekends. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming, you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Teacher.
Bye-bye.
Happy
Bye.
listening. Find
Okay.
something you like to listen to.
It's
Okay.
better. Yes.
Bye.
Okay,
Thank you. Bye
Don't
bye.
get
Thank you very
bored.
See
much.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, learning English doesn't have to be painful. It can be fun.
Yeah.
Yes, always.
Okay. See you
Okay.
guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.
From Nicaragua.
Nicaragua, okay. And Yui, where are you from?
I'm from Vietnam.
Vietnam, that's what I thought. And Juan, tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from the sunny Mexicali, Baja California, Mexico.
Baja California. All right. Nice and sunny there. Ayat, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. How about you?
I'm pretty good.
I'm from Algeria.
Algeria. Okay, wonderful.
Thanks.
And Asifraja or Asifraja?
Yeah. I
Hi.
am Asif Raja. I am from Pakistan.
Pakistan. Okay, wonderful. And Alejandro, did your microphone work?
Yes, it's working at now.
Yay, it's working. Great, wonderful. Okay.
I'm
Yes.
from Argentina.
Argentina. Okay, welcome. Wow, we have a good mix of people from all different countries. That's wonderful. So in this class, we are going to be doing some reading. And this is the article that I chose for today. So just so you know, if you're new to my classes, I usually do classes that are more for intermediate to advanced students, and for students who want to, maybe you're already pretty good in English, but you want to just keep improving. So I choose articles that are real, authentic, articles that any pretty much educated person would read if they're a person who even is a native speaker. So I don't...
And the teacher Samantha as well, talking over the chat in Spanish. Great job.
Oh, yeah? Oh, gracias. Muy bien. Okay, yeah, I don't have enough time, but if I had more time, I would be taking more Spanish classes. But they're fun to listen, and sometimes if I'm preparing for a class, I check in and I like to participate, at least in the chat. But I hope to get inside the class more often so I can practice my Spanish.
Yes,
Okay,
great job, teacher.
thank you. Hazel, how are you?
Hello, I'm
Hi,
fine. How are you?
good. And Hazel, where are you from?
From Romania.
Oh, okay, Romania. Nice, wonderful. Okay, sounds like you have a good connection.
Yes.
Good. Forrester, how are you? Check
Yeah,
your.
I'm fine. Yeah,
Okay, great, cool. And Forrester, where are you?
yeah, I'm in Japan.
Oh, okay, great. And Imad, how are you doing
Hi,
today?
Lisa. I'm fine, thank you. Well, thank you very much.
Good. And Dewey, are you there?
Yes.
Dewey, did I pronounce your name right? Dewey?
Yui.
Yui?
Yes.
Okay. So the D is pronounced kind of like we pronounce the Y. Yui.
Yes.
Okay, I'll try to remember that. And Camilo, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you. And you?
Good. I forgot to ask everybody. So Camilo, tell us where you are from.
I'm from.
Other people will probably be joining us any minute now. Um, if you have been checking out Verbling, you might notice that we offer classes in English and now in Spanish, and soon we will be offering classes in other languages as well. So that's all very exciting. Lots and lots of people are learning about Verbling. So if you have friends, neighbors, colleagues, people in your family that are learning a language, you might want to direct them here to verbling.com so they can start practicing and start taking some classes. So hi everybody, welcome, come on in to the class. When you come in to the class, it's good to do two things. One is to close the Verbling window. So you were looking at the Verbling window, you clicked join class button, and then it opened a new Google Plus Hangouts window. You can just close the Verbling window. So you're just having the Google Hangout window open. That way we won't hear any of the recording because as you may know already, all of the classes are recorded. And so they are available anytime later under the recorded classes tab or button, okay? And so yeah, hi there everybody. How are you doing? Alejandro, how are you? Oh yeah, that was the second thing. The second thing that I wanted to tell you was it's time for another Verbling class. It's 9 a.m. Pacific time. And this hour, I'm going to be doing an English reading class. So I have an article that I chose from Time Magazine. It's from a couple of years ago. But I found it very interesting, especially because it relates to language learning. So not only does it have some really rich vocabulary in this reading, and it's an interesting topic. I think it will be relevant to people who are learning English, and so that's why I chose it, because I think it will lead to a good discussion today that we can have about strategies and techniques for learning English and improving our fluency. I'm also interested in this because I also am interested in learning languages. I am learning French, and I speak some German and some Spanish already, and I'm probably going to be learning Portuguese soon as well. So I always like to find interesting articles that talk about how we can help ourselves to improve our language learning skills. So if you want to join this class, in just a minute, you should see the Join Class button. It's at the top of your Verbling chat window. So as you can see, if you're looking at the Verbling page right now, there's a chat box going on over in the right-hand side, and people are talking. Alejandro and Tara are there, and Felipe and Ayat, and there's several. Check your microphone. The way you do that is you can just go up here. The easiest place to look is the above the Verbling chat box where I'm moving my cursor around there. There's a microphone icon, and this microphone icon, if it's red, that means that your microphone is muted. So in order to speak and for me to be able to hear you, your microphone has to be on. Okay, Alejandro, is your microphone on? And I have to go through and say hi to everybody and make sure that your microphone works, because in the reading class we're going to be reading out loud, and so that means your microphone definitely has to be working so that I can hear you. Okay.
Hello, yeah.
Okay,
I can hear you.
I can hear you, but I cannot hear Alejandro, so I'm trying to help Alejandro get his microphone working. It doesn't work, Alejandro? Is it muted or is it not working? Maybe plug it in and plug it unplug it. Okay, let's see. We have a little bit of movement here. Let's start over here with Juan. Hi, Juan. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, teacher. Thanks.
Okay.
Everything is peaches and cream.
Sweet. Hey, you're making me hungry.
How's your Spanish going, teacher? I saw you on the Spanish class,